educator, leader, business consultant, researcher, world traveler, and world-renowned behavior expert, Dr. John Demartini is back in town. He's a frequent guest on Leading Opinion, and because of his extensive work in this field, he's considered an authority when it comes to living an inspired and purposeful life. Well, we decided to attend one of his public talks, and we had a great time. The topic was accessing your 7 greatest powers. Welcome to the show again, and thank you for such a fabulous evening last week.
Thank you.
The talk on accessing your 7 greatest powers, what I got out of it is really about developing 7 core areas in one's life.
Yes. I believe that every human being has a desire to wake up their mental capacities, in a sense, wake up their genius, and realize that they have great knowledge to gain, grow. I believe that they also have something that they want to contribute to the world as far as a business or a vocation, some service that they want to provide where they can achieve and feel successful in. I believe that a person also has a desire to have more money at the end of their life than life at the end of their money. They'd like to grow their wealth and be able to have the money working for them instead of them having to work for money. And they also would love to have love and intimacy and a family and partnership and a relationship that's intimate and close. And I think that they want to make a difference and have a social influence and be remembered and have some sort of power in that area where they can make some sort of contribution there. And I believe that they want to have vitality and beauty. They want to be attractive. They want to be considered healthy and look good and also be vital in stamina. And I think they also want to have an inspiration, something that they can dedicate their lives to. It may be religious or it may not be, but something that is inspiring to them that's a mission. So I believe that there's those 7 powers and those 7 areas of life that people innately have a desire to fulfill. And what I mentioned in my presentation, that when you're looking for a mate, you're actually looking for empowerment in as many of those areas as possible. So if you're a woman and you're obviously looking for a man that's healthy and good looking and attractive and has vitality and attraction. You're also looking for somebody that's intelligent, because that's an aphrodisiac, somebody that knows things and can solve problems and think and innovate. And then you're looking for somebody that's business savvy and ambitious, because you don't want to have to be taking care of some young boy as a woman. You want somebody that's ambitious.
Absolutely.
And you want somebody also that has some resources. You don't want to be sitting there and raising a family and trying to raise children and all of a sudden have no resources. You want him to contribute financially and have wealth. And you want him to be dedicated to the family and be focused and care enough about the family that he won't just abandon the children. You want him there. And you also want him to be able to feel that if you walked around with him in society, that he'd be a nice trophy. You don't want him to be something you'd be embarrassed by. And you want him to make a difference and be leaving a mark, so you feel like your name and your brand of family or whatever is contributed to society. So all areas, and including inspiration. If they're not inspired, they're not somebody to be around. So you want a partner that's empowered in as many areas as possible, and so do they. The men and the women are wanting that. There's been an old joke that men stop at beauty, but the real truth is they want all of it. Everybody's wanting the best package they can get.
Sure.
And these 7 areas, or the 7 powers, are what we're looking for.
So you're saying each person should develop those 7 areas of power?
Well, I don't want to put the should on there, because that would be imposing an imperative language that says if you don't, somehow there's something missing or wrong about you. I would just say that any area of your life you don't empower, you have the likelihood of somebody else overpowering you. And so you would have a natural tendency when people overpower you and kind of push you around to want to develop that power. And the more areas of power you have, the more autonomy you have, and the more respect you get. So I think it's wise to empower all of them, but some people specialize. Some traditional families have gender positionings, where maybe the male is dedicated to intellectual pursuits and business and financial, and the woman is maybe dedicated to family and social and physical health and beauty. That works too, as long as there's an honoring of those and respecting of those opposite genders' traits. But today, in kind of a socioeconomic development, there's more of an androgyny, and men and women deserve to show their geniuses and their powers in all areas. So if you're empowered in all areas, you're probably going to look for a mate that's empowered in each area. But if you're highly polarized to one side, you'll typically attract the side that you're not empowered by. You look for that other side.
Very fascinating indeed. What are some of the challenges you faced when attempting to master all these 7 areas in your life? And do you still face some of these challenges?
Well, I certainly, when I was young, I had a physical challenge. My foot was turned in, my arm was turned in, I had speech impediments. And then I had an intellectual challenge when I was 6 or 7. My teacher said I would never read or write or communicate, never amount to anything, never go very far in life. So I really wasn't an academic. And I made it through school with the help of the smartest kids. I ended up dropping out of school. I left home when I was 13, 14 years old. I hit the streets. And it wasn't until I was 17 that I had a kind of a wake-up call and nearly died, that I got focused and now all of a sudden wanted to develop my life. I was just kind of straying there for a while. But at age 17, 18, I had a dream to learn how to be intelligent. I wanted to go back and figure out how to get intelligent and learn how to read and do things, because I didn't read till I was 18. And at that time, I had a health problem, so I had to go on a pursuit to try to empower my body, get my body back in shape by eating well and exercising and doing the things that it took to there. I wanted to go and start studying, so I started reading dictionaries and encyclopedias until I could learn to read and go on to school, and I educated myself. I had a whole lot to learn about relationships. When you live on the street, it's a totally different type of relationship dynamic than going out on a date and things of this nature. So I think in almost every area, I had to start from a place where I was ignorant and had to gradually accumulate, either through trial and error and feedback from hindsight, or by reading and getting mentorship and guidance from other people and observations, foresight. So I've had challenges in all of them. I wasn't until I was 28 that I learned how to save money for the sake of it growing for me. I was always saving money for buying a car or getting some depreciable and going places, etc. I didn't know how to save money and allow it to start working for me. So I wasn't until 28 before I started getting my financial house in order. I was probably in my 20s before I learned how to even go on a date, really, and do relationships. And my health in about 18 to 20, and really for the next decade there. So, and socially, I think I was a little bit of an outcast, and I had to learn how to communicate in people's values over time. So I think almost every single area of my life. Spiritually, I was subordinate to, you might say, boxes and belief systems out there, and had to go and study comparative philosophies and religions to try to help me see things in a different context and empower myself there. I have a feeling that, like anybody else, through education, I gradually, slowly but surely, empowered as many areas as I've been able to do. And I had it as a dream to master my life since I was 18, and that led me to want to go and study everything I could in each of those areas to try to accumulate things that, so I don't have to go through hindsight, I can do it through foresight. Accumulate as much as I can in each of those areas to empower people. So today, that's what I'm really inspired by, is sharing everything that I've been able to gather that can help people empower each of those areas of life. Because my experience is there's a way more fulfillment in life when you're empowered in each of those. So I think it's a journey, and I think probably 10 years from now and 20 years from now, I'll look back and realize that I'm still learning just as much as I was then.
Obviously, you're talking from experience, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to what you're saying if they have to look back on their journey as well.
Exactly. I don't think it's ever done. Albert Einstein said it's wise to live with holy curiosity and know that whatever you've learned, there's always something tomorrow. As long as you're green, you're growing. As soon as you ripen, you rot. The second you think that's it and it's done, then it's usually you've stagnated yourself. So I try to read every day. I try to learn every day. I try to share every day. I found out that if I teach, whatever I teach, I tend to learn better. So I use that as a tool for myself to learn and also to make a difference. Because I really believe that we're here to make a contribution to the world. We have an altruistic part that wants to serve and make a difference. And we have a narcissistic part that wants to do something and have the rewards of life. I'm a believer that you deserve to have those at the maximum, both altruism, narcissism. You want to be able to do the most you can for others and the most you can for yourself all your life.
I think there's so much of value in what you have to offer in terms of what you are teaching. What comes to mind when listening to you is Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yes.
And when I have to reflect on what you presented at your public evening discussion, it's so much different, but there's more value in it because Maslow maintained that in order to get to self-actualization, you have to climb that ladder and, go through that whole process of achieving that. And I think you've undertook that journey. But with hindsight now, you're applying this technique, which is very workable because one can get to self-actualization a lot quicker.
Absolutely.
And work on it constantly, work on your purpose and your vision and what you want to contribute to this world.
Exactly. I was flying from Los Angeles to Melbourne, Australia on a Qantas flight. And there just happened to be a gentleman sitting next to me, Derek Denton, who's a very noted scientist. And we just had this incredible conversation. And we were talking, I was reading a book called Incomplete Nature by Terence Deacon, and he was looking at his own book on primal emotions. And he said that we go through the basic essentials. We need oxygen, because we die in a matter of minutes without that. We need water, we die within days without that. Food, we die within weeks or months without that. Then we need reproduction, and we need then a shelter, and then we need clothing, and it works its way up from there. Once we have those basic survival mechanisms, we then have a desire to want to protect them. Mm-hmm. So we want security, because we don't want somebody to steal that from us and go backwards. So we want security. Once we have that, we want to show it off. We want to have a social influence and say, hey, we've achieved this. And there's a social kind of a gratification. And then there's a self-esteem where we want to contribute, because we realize that showing that off doesn't do it. We've got to help other people do that if we want to sustain it. Mm-hmm. And so we have a self-esteem to try to be a leader. And then finally self-actualization, where we realize that they and us are the same. Mm-hmm. The seer, the seeing, and the seen are the same. We're all in this thing together, so we want to make a contribution altruistically and narcissistically, and both grow to highest levels. So I am interested in that Maslow's needs in some respects, and I believe that if a person lives by their set of values, their highest value, what everything in my research points that if a person lives by their highest value and sets goals that are congruent with that, and prioritizes their life and delegates lower priority things and goes on to doing what's most meaningful, they have the highest probability of empowering all areas of life. That's why I keep saying that in every talk I do around the world, how important it is to live congruently with who you really are. The magnificence of who you are is greater than any fantasy you'll ever put on yourself.
Dr. Demartini, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Well, to wrap up, I leave you with thoughts shared by participants in Johannesburg, the City of Gold, who attended Dr. Demartini's talk, Accessing Your 7 Greatest Powers. Thank you so much for joining us.
There's so much to digest. I feel good about myself because I kind of am aligned with my values, but there's lots of room of improvement. That's what I love about it.
This is my 3rd time coming to Demartini. Every year we try to come through with my brother, and we love him, and every year it's a constant journey of self-discovery, inspired destiny, and I have a love for the arts and a love for psychology, so he helps me combine the two, because as much as they are so far-fetched, they actually belong together. So yeah, he helps me just continue my journey and just discover different facets of myself that need to be rediscovered and then altered and just fulfilled and with passion and love and congruity. Yeah.
This is the 2nd time that I've attended Dr. Martini's speeches, and I find every time you see him, regardless if you're listening to the tapes or the videos, the CDs, you always learn something new. So you're always finding out something new about yourself, always finding out something new that you didn't know. Even if he says the same thing, he repeats 1 or 2 quotes, but every time you hear it, you get a different perspective of it because you're in a different place in your life. So I've really found a lot of value in coming to this talk. I always look forward to when the doctor's in town, and I really enjoyed it. I've got a lot of value, and I look forward to improving myself from all the notes that I've taken in the talk.